Across South America in the 1980s, a trail of tears and bloodshed was spread by a single man known only as the Monster of the Andes, who shocked the world with the 300 deaths he caused and horrors he inflicted onto his victims. He focused only on young women, and when he shamelessly confessed to his crimes, he was imprisoned for 16 years in maximum prison. What interests me the most about a serial killer is the psychology behind them. In an interview with Pedro Lopez, scientists were able to piece together what went on inside Pedro's head. And because he had a rough childhood, which caused his trauma and murder to spree to occur, he inflicted this pain onto others the same age he was sexually assaulted. My thesis is people with rough beginnings, lives end in horrible ways if they don't get their lives together. Lopez was born on October 8th, 1948, in Santa Isabel, Colombia. Lopez's mother, Bilda, was 3 months pregnant with her son at the time of his father's death. Pedro was reportedly the seventh child among 13 siblings, was a polite boy, and wanted to be a teacher according to his mother. But Lopez later said his mother was physically abusive and was later kicked out of his house by his mother. When he was 10 years old, Lopez said that an elderly couple found him on the streets and gave him a home, enrolling him at a school for orphans. He ran away once again. Lopez would eventually speak of wanting vengeance for his suffering as a child. Having grown up on the streets, Lopez was arrested at 21 years old for stealing a car. Soon after his imprisonment, he was attacked by two men and, in retaliation, killed his attackers with a makeshift knife. He received additional jail time for his murders. Upon his release from prison, it is believed that Lopez started to seek out young victims, usually of indigenous background and limited economic means. He made his way to Peru, where he would lure his victims to remote areas, later reporting that he murdered dozens during the mid to late 1970s. Several victims who were reported missing during a flash flood, which led to the police reopening his files and his arrest. Even Lopez's victims reflected his abusive past, and would later bait some of them with money or candy. And as a child, he dealt with baits, so he may have felt a purgative feeling from it since he did the same. The abuse he endured as a child was a trigger for the vicious attacks he caused on his victims. A woman and her daughter were on their way to a market. Lopez had attempted to kidnap the woman's daughter, but was subdued by local merchants and held them until the police arrived. He remained silent during his refusal to cooperate with the police and his initial interrogation after his arrest. But he started to tell an officer about his crimes, and told them that he had killed over 200 people in Ecuador, with more across various other places, and directed the police to 53 of the victims after his confession, and was found guilty and was given 16 years in maximum security prison. Although Lopez was convicted for 110 people, he claimed to have killed over 300. In an interview with the combination of his confession and the evidence, it allowed scientists to piece together what went on inside Pedro's head. When asked why he only ever chose young victims, he said, "It's like eating chicken. Why eat old chicken when you could have young chicken?" Some scientists have theorized that in Lopez's warped mind, he thought he was helping his victims, and he was their savior. He could have seen death as a gift. He killed over 300 victims, and he remembered every single one. This spree wasn't to get rid of his past, but it allowed for the memory of his past to stay alive, so he could relive it again and again, which makes him dangerous because it suggests that he is far from done now that he is a free man. Now that Lopez is back out there, people all over the world, especially all those in Colombia, have to look over their shoulders, and they walk around with their children and have to wonder, is he here? Lopez did say this: "Someday when I am released, I will feel that moment again. I will be happy to kill again. It is my mission. Maybe that day will come. Maybe it won't."